Welcome to Chemistry 125. My name is Dr. Kelly, and I'm your instructor for Chemistry 125. 125 is a lab to accompany Chemistry 120, the joy of chemistry. Well, they used to call it the joy of chemistry. Now it's the chemistry in society. You should be having me for the lecture portion of 120 as well, hopefully. I have the same disclaimer in here that I do for lecture, although here I don't expect any big content here. The description of this lab is to reinforce concepts in 120. Let's go down to the parts that you're really interested in. First, there's the question, help, answer, discussion board, the same as there is in lecture. If you have any questions over the lab, ask me there. Second, course material. The course material you need are twofold. You need chemical splash goggles, and you need the Thames and Cosmos Chemistry C1000 version 2 chemistry set. I'm going to walk you real quickly through finding it. I'm going through Elizabethtown's bookstore. You can go through any bookstore you want. Go to current student. Go to current student, and over here, campus bookstore. Here we go. Bookstore website. Textbook, find textbooks. Once you've gone to find textbooks, now you're selecting a campus. KCTCS Online should work. Let's try that. Spring 2018. Let's go chemistry. And now you have to make sure that you select the right course, 125, and now the right section. And there are only 2 sections this semester. You want 25Z1. Find materials for this course. Looking. No materials found, so I guess it's a good thing we did this. Let's go back real quickly. Let's go textbooks, find textbooks. Select campus, this time choose Elizabethtown KCTCS. All right, so you've chosen Elizabethtown. Select department, select chemistry, select 125. Again, 25Z1, and find materials for this course. There you go. So you have to choose Elizabethtown for your bookstore in order to find it. Best news ever about this, for an online lab, the cost for this is about as low as you could possibly get. If I went through one of the big manufacturers like I did last semester, the lab kit would cost you over $200. And what I've done is I've chosen one essentially off of Barnes & Noble's website by a commercial company not aimed at education. That means I have to generate all my own questions in order for you to use this. Therefore, there's going to be a slight delay in how I normally like to do things. I normally like to have the class all up and open so that you can plunge right in. But because I'm having to generate this stuff myself in terms of the questions and the pre-labs and all that, there's going to be a slight delay, but you need both of these items. In addition to this, when you get to your Chem 1000, what you'll discover is that there's going to be a few other items that you have to purchase as well. Let's see here. Let's go real quickly to, I know this is going to be fascinating. Well, no, let's go. I'm going to get ahead of myself here. I'm talking to myself here. Professor is talking to himself. Isn't that wonderful? Grading criteria. You will have to earn a minimum of 519 points in order to get an A. I am not doing this class on percentage. Most of the times you take a class and you know it's 90% to 100, you get an A. I'm not doing that. I've set point targets. The great thing about setting these point targets is once you reach those point targets, you get to stop. So if by the end of March you've earned 519 points in the grade book, you can sit back and stop. You've got your A. You're done. 519 points is what I've established for an A. 519 to 475 is a B. Anything below 475, I'm just giving you an E. The reason for this is this class is very straightforward. If you read your directions to your pre-labs, watch those pre-lab videos, and you perform the experiments, you're going to get close to 100% on every single lab. It's really like Yoda says, do or do not. There is no try. Right? You're either going to do the lab or you're not going to do the lab. If you do the lab, you're going to be submitting pictures, and I'll be able to see you did the lab, and I'll give you your points. I will guarantee that you have at least a minimum of 650 points during the course. Each lab that you do will be worth roughly 50 points. Additionally, I'm going to provide some substitute labs. Some of the labs included in this chemistry kit carry an element of danger to them. And if you feel that those labs are too dangerous to do, skip it, right? I am not forcing you to do any single one of these labs. I always will have at least one alternate lab available for you if you don't want to take upon yourself the safety risk associated with the lab from the lab kit. Something important to note about this lab kit, as long as we're on the topic, this is an old school lab kit. This makes me very happy. This is one of those lab kits that you would find from when I was a kid. They have not given you just baking soda and vinegar here. They have given you some real chemicals that can and will hurt you if you use them incorrectly. We'll go into that in more detail in your safety lecture. But it's very, very important that you realize that this lab carries an element of danger and that you need to read your lab instructions carefully and always have your chemical splash goggles on. That having been said, if at any point you're uncomfortable doing one of the labs that come in your lab kit, I will have some alternate exercises posted for you. Not only that, but remember, each lab's worth 50 points. I'm requiring 519. Your safety video and your safety information is more than 50 points. So all I'm really requiring you to do to pass this course and get an A is to do 9 labs. So anytime you're uncomfortable doing the lab, you can do one of the alternate labs, or you can skip it and do one of the other labs. Right, so you should be thinking that you need to do about 9 experiments. Also, if you do not wish to complete the safety waiver, you need to contact your advisor to move you to another section. I won't grade anything without that safety waiver. Late work, no assignments. Late work is penalized 2.5% a day. Same as lecture class. That having been said, I plan to give you guys huge windows for when these assignments are due. I plan to give you like 2 weeks to do a lab as opposed to the 1 week I normally would give you to do an assignment, especially since I'm prepping this as you go along here. The snow that you know is happening has set me back in a couple ways. Not only has it delayed me fixing the audio on this lecture until today, but it's also delayed me being able to do some of the experiments and photograph them and help you walk through them. It's also affected my ability to run out to the store and buy ingredients for the alternate exercises, but I'm digressing. Why don't you write down the word Skywalker? Write down Skywalker. Everybody write down Skywalker. Withdrawal policy, same as lecture. Safety violations. Here's a big one for this class. If a student commits a safety violation, I have the right to penalize your grade. If, for any reason, you appear in a picture that you submit to me not wearing safety goggles, I will fail you in that laboratory experiment. If I get wind somehow from either the information you post on the message board or pictures you submit that you're in any way being unsafe, I will fail you in the lab. We'll go over dress in the ACS safety video. Failure to complete pre-lab exercises, that's more for my face-to-face, but you do need to complete the pre-lab exercises before I will grade your lab. I won't grade your lab unless you've done the pre-lab exercises for it. And by that, I mean on an experiment-to-experiment basis, correct? Because I said you can skip some labs or some experiments if you don't want to do them. How to take this course. What are you going to be doing in this course compared to the lecture course? For every single experiment, you're going to read the instructions in the Chem C1000 manual. For legal reasons, I will not significantly alter in any way the instructions that you find in the Chem C1000 manual. For most experiments, I will post a very brief pre-lab lecture. I'm not going to go on for 45 minutes or 90 minutes like I do in lecture class. Matter of fact, this is probably the longest lecture you'll get from me in lab. Take a quick pre-lab quiz. The pre-lab quiz will be not only over my pre-lab lecture, but it will also be over those instructions. So it's real important that you read the instructions. After you've taken that pre-lab quiz, reread the lab instructions. In chemistry, it is really crucial that you know what you're doing before you do it. A lot of times you'll see directions that say immediately, meaning if you've had to think about it or take time to absorb what they're wanting you to do, your experiment's not going to get the right results. So you need to read and reread those instructions before you start an experiment. Be really familiar with them. Next, prepare your area. In the safety video and in the instructions manual, they give you very detailed information about how to prepare your area. Follow it. Wear safety goggles when you conduct the experiment. Clean up the experiment when you're through. If you share your domicile with anybody, make sure you clean up your area after you're done. These should not be done on the kitchen table. Find an old table where people aren't going to be eating off of it. And even then, I recommend covering the table, as we'll talk about in the safety lecture. After you've done the experiment, you're going to take the post-lab quiz. Not all labs will have quizzes. Once you've done the lab, take the quiz if the lab has one. Every single lab you do will require you to submit photographs of some nature. And most of the time, the photographs are simply a picture of the test tube at the end of the experiment. Finally, some of the experiments in this kit that you've bought carry a degree of risk that I am not happy assigning to you. If you want to do them on your own, that's on you. But because some of those experiments carry a degree of risk, I'm going to skip them, right? So I'm going to be editing out some of those experiments for you. Because of that, I recommend do not do any lab until it's assigned in the message section of Blackboard. Finally, the usual boilerplate statements on disabilities, student code of conduct, accessing your email, makeup days, and other such fun legalese can be found following the following link. One of the most important things to do in this lab, and you guys are already off to a great start with the comments over the audio, ask questions when you have them. I am here to help you. I am your most important resource here. And this should hopefully be fun. I really want this to be fun, even though it's off to a frustrating, stupid start with the audio and the weather. I want this to be fun. I want this to be the lab you tell your friends about. So let's get rolling. And let me see how I can figure out how to stop the audio. I'm done. So if you want to turn off the video, that's fine. Otherwise, you're just going to be watching me try to figure out how to stop the lecture.